Hi. I think we're live. So welcome to the community office hours. My name is Beek, and you have Sam Snyder, my colleague, here on here as well. Today we're going to just walk you through some of the things that are recent developments in OpenRewrite, and maybe some predictions towards the coming year. And just if you have any questions, feel free to reach out in the chat. That should be open and shown here as well. And then we're just going to show you some cool stuff that we've been working on, and hope to hear from you as well. So cheers. So I've done a couple of these before, so folks might know me. I'm Tim Beek. I'm a staff software engineer here at Moderne, where we work on OpenRewrite and the Moderne CLI. And apart from that, I'm responsible for the community as well. So if you post any kind of questions in our public Slack, then you're likely to get an answer from me. And if you submit any pull requests, then you're also likely going to have to go through a review that I'll be doing as well. So that's where you might be seeing me. And then on the goal with me today is Sam. Sam has been here a lot longer, and maybe you want to introduce yourself as well.
Hey, I'm Sam, VP of Engineering. I've been here since the beginning. I work on the core refactoring technology as well as on customer success. Pleasure to be with all of you. One of my favorite things to do is to teach people recipe authoring and how to use OpenRewrite and Moderne.
Yeah, cheers. Yeah, because we know you've been giving a workshop on recipe authoring and a couple of our customers recently. And just today, we get a question in Slack on if there's any resources that we're sharing for maybe exercises towards recipe authoring. It's maybe nice to share that we are working towards that, and we will have some more to share in that light too.
Yeah, there are the existing documents on docs.openrewrite.org, which cover some recipe authoring basics that we can probably show in a little bit here. But yeah, more content towards learning some of the advanced concepts of recipe authoring would definitely be worthwhile. I agree.
Yeah, sure. And especially what I heard was exercises to play with, because of course we have a lot of existing recipes, and we have folks that want to do more. But yeah, it's often not trivial if you have something complex that you want to automate, but you want to step up the in that terms of complexity in what you want to develop. So we can walk folks through that.
It would be neat to have a REPL in a web browser where you could try a recipe on some source code, but no promises aren't working on that right just yet.
Would be pretty neat, yeah. So, but we do have a lot of information there already. So I don't know what I see that the chat is working. So if anyone has any questions, then by all means, let's make this interactive. And otherwise, we can take folks through some of the ways that you can develop recipes already, and maybe show some new developments there as well.
Yeah, so we really see these as office hours. We are, going to share prepared content with you when we don't have questions from you to answer. So if there's a recipe you've been trying to author or a bug you've been running into with OpenRewrite or any of our libraries, now is your chance to bring it up directly to us, and we can address that. And if not, we'll just go through some neat things and chat a little bit. So yeah, feel free at any time to post your questions in the YouTube chat, and we can address them.
Yeah, cheers. So until we get some questions in, I think first thing I can do is walk through some of the ways that we have to develop recipes, and I'll be using a few of our docs to do so. And then we find the right tab or window. So what you're looking at here is the docs that we referenced that we already have on authoring recipes. So it's available at docs.openrewrite.org/authoring-recipes. And that's just where we help you out to set up your IDE, just to get you started in the most productive way to run and develop recipes. And from there, we take you through some of the different types of recipes that we have. folks that have been following us for a while might know that we now have 3 main ways to define recipes. And we take you through some of that in these talks already. And then we also have a starter project that you can use if you want to get started with an existing project that already has 3 types of recipes that you can manipulate to maybe build your own internal recipe library. And that one is available at github.com/rewrite recipe, Moderne Inc./rewrite recipe starter. So that's a very handy, useful resource there as well. So maybe to start with, the most often used way that we have recipes in OpenRewrite is to have them declared as a recipe in a YAML description file. And you can see that style here, where we just you get a plain text YAML file, which is able to combine existing recipes, which we've done here to group together some common static analysis issues, which you can then run together as one unit in one big run using the open source plugins or the Moderne CLI or the Moderne platform. And while this is useful to group existing recipes, it gets even more useful when you combine it with some additional configuration that you could do. And you can see an example here where we've taken a migration of the Apache HTTP client and broken it up into small individual steps, which each configure an existing recipe with some arguments, in this case to, for instance, change the dependency, or do some more manipulations like changing a package or adding method arguments. And in this way, we're able to break up a large, complex migration into small steps that you can more easily scan and read and commit to source control without having to go into any kind of IDE to develop these recipes. So it's quite often a good place for beginners to start. And even if you have been developing with OpenRewrite for a long time, this is still the most convenient way if you need something simple. So be sure to check that out. And if you want a very convenient way of composing these recipes, then we recommend that you go to app.moderne.io, which is a web interface that we develop here at Moderne, where we have a builder to group together these recipes. So if you go to app.moderne.io/recipes/builder, you can define your own custom recipes by adding them to this builder and adding some quick configuration to them as well. So if you go to our marketplace and you look, for instance, for a change package recipe, I'm not seeing the immediate one that I expect. Let's instead go for change dependency. I need to apply.
It's a rename package name is I think the result you're looking for there, Tim. There you go.
Yes, thanks. So the name of the recipe is change package, and then the description is what I should have searched for. Well, here we can define any existing package, which is in this case, let's go for axonframework.common.jpa, and a new package. I'm going to fill in a value I've used before, which is the legacy JPA package for the Axon framework. And if we add this to our builder, you'll see it shows up on the right-hand side. It's something that you can download, and you can then add to a YAML file. And that means you can run this repeatedly and combine it together with other recipes. And this one in particular, you've seen me fill out some values I liked before. I've contributed this to the Axon framework to help their users migrate between 2 versions, where they had to rename a package, they had to rename some classes, add a dependency here or there. And it's all of that migration is just achieved with nothing but this YAML configuration recipes. So quite convenient. So that is one way to define recipes. We quite recently added a new way, which I'm quite excited about, which is a refaster style of recipes. So if you've you've been in the Java space for a while, maybe you've come across a Refaster, which is a tool linked to ErrorProne, developed at Google, where they have devised an API where you define two methods, annotate each of them with either before template or after template, and from there work out what code changes need to be made to implement or apply that change across your code base. So we have an example here in the docs, but I can also take you through my IDE to give you just a quick run through of how you would develop a Refaster style recipe with OpenRewrite. For that, I'm gonna switch my screen share to a different window. Too many open windows.
Never a shortage of windows when you're in software development.
So here you see my IDE, and I'm gonna zoom a bit and make things readable for you. So what I've done here is I've opened up the tests that we have for a particular recipe. And this one in particular is the recipe that will change the code from this before situation to the code in this after situation as part of the recipe that's called use string is empty. And you might feel like this is a silly example, but we've seen a lot of variations of ways in which folks can define that they want to check if a string is empty or not. And over here in the this particular test that we have, you can see that there's 4 different ways that we've identified, whereas there is the one true way that we would like folks to use, and that is just calling on the string the check on if it is empty or not. So all of these situations in the before template, we actually want to replace with these in the after situation. And then just around that is our testing framework, which says that the 2 text blocks you see here are each a Java class. This is the before situation. Assert that the after situation is there after we ran the recipe. And this is all part of a rewrite run. So it's just a bit of wiring up to get our tests, but it's a very easy way to read exactly what you want your code changes to actually do. And then if we jump to our recipe implementation, it's potentially even easier than the test that we have. So what you have here is you see we have a class, which we've added some documentation to. We have a before template, and we have an after template annotated method. And the after template annotated method I've already implemented, but the before template annotated method right now is not doing anything useful. So what we can do is we can run this test and see how it performs. And then you will quite quickly see that this recipe was expected to make a particular change, but it failed to match. And that's mostly because we haven't yet implemented it quite well. So what I could do here is say that I want to check that if the length of the string is bigger than 0, then I want my recipe to actually make that code change. To take anything where you find that you're maybe calling a string length and want to change it into checking that the string is empty or not. And now that I've implemented this first one, you can actually see that we ran our tests and we have a different result. We're no longer not making any change, but we're not making the change that we expected. And IntelliJ can tell us exactly, like we expected this situation after running our recipe, but we actually got only the first one of the 4 examples replaced. And that's because I only implemented one of the 4 situations that we actually want to cover here. So what I can do here is add an additional one, and I'll set IntelliJ to automatically rerun my tests. And then we check that. You see Copilot is doing a lot of the heavy lifting here. And you'll see that my tests are run again. And right now we have 2 out of 4 cases covered. So the first one is covered and the last one is covered. So we're going to do that once more. Just a caps lock, before template. typing is fine when folks are watching.
For sure.
So you see me added a third option. This one checks it the other way around as the first one. And you can see that we only have one more case to cover. So we add that last one. And let's see if it's fully figured it out. Yep. So, that's weird. There is a small bug in the automatic rerunning of tests where sometimes it steals your focus, and at that point you need to disable it. It's quite annoying. We'll get that sorted. So now we've implemented all 4 variants. We can rerun our test. And if all goes well, it's green. So just by adding in a total of 5 annotated methods, we can replace all these different variants of checking if the string is empty or not, just by using this refaster style of response. I take quite neat.
I have a question, Tim.
Yeah, sure.
If this recipe had involved manipulating any imports, like if what we were changing introduced a new type into the source file, is that something that refaster style recipes can accomplish?
Absolutely, yes. So we've covered that as well. We have quite some more interesting cases here as well, where we figure out if you maybe need to add an import or remove an import, or maybe you want to change the style of how you are declaring your inputs. There's a lot of cases here that are hidden behind this convenient implementation. And if you want to know what's going on under the covers, then I can show you that as well, because we have a small annotation processor that does this transformation for you. So we take these annotated methods and we turn that into just a regular OpenRewrite recipe. And you can see that hidden away here, where we are not running the direct methods that we have. The use string is empty, but we're actually running a generated recipe. And if we click through on that, you can see that this is actually a regular OpenRewrite recipe. It's an implementation of just a standard recipe, which has some matching, and we match all of those before situations. We have the one after situation that we want. And after that, we do some cleanups, indeed, check if you need to add some imports, and all of this is implemented in a regular recipe, which you can also use as a starter if you need something more advanced, but you want to start out with just a simple declaration of what your recipe should start out with. So very neat.
If someone was interested in contributing to just taking a look at the code that does that annotation processor to make these refaster style recipes work, where would they look?
So that we have implemented is a annotation processor in the rewrite templating project. So if you go to github.com/openrewrite/rewrite templating, you will find the annotation processor in there, and all the features that we already covered, and all the features that we look to cover still. And there's one really neat collaboration that we're working with. So we are not the first or only ones who are defining refaster style recipes, but we also have some friends at Picnic in Amsterdam who have developed a lot of existing refaster style recipes that we can now also convert into OpenRewrite recipes, such that you can run them as you would regularly through the open source plugins, or through Moderne at scale against an entire organization. So very neat collaboration there, and would add a lot of recipes to the mix that are already defined and maintained there.
And can you comment a little bit on the limitations of refaster templates, things that they're not able to do, where you might need to take that next step up to authoring a full OpenRewrite recipe by hand?
So the way this is implemented under the covers is that we are matching a particular input of your source code to what we find in the serialized, lossless semantic tree of your code. But there are certain elements where we can't quite match, or maybe where you want to do a more complex replacement, which is not one-to-one, but you want to insert multiple new elements, and those are things that are not a great fit for this type of recipe, but they can be, you can still do the matching as part of what our annotation processor provides. So if you can, for instance, only define either your before situation or your after situation with such a refaster style template, then you can still use that component. And for the rest of it, use a regular visitor as you would otherwise. So yeah, it's what I've been very excited to play around with, and especially when combined with Copilot, you can see how very quickly you can add predictable rules to the set of recipes that you want to run. So yeah.
I remember reading or being told that normally Refaster can only make changes within method bodies. Do we have that same limitation, or will this match stuff outside of method bodies as well?
I think we have that same limitation.
Yeah, I'm genuinely curious. I'm not sure if I've never tried, but I had the question of whether we exactly line up with the original Refaster implementation in that way or not.
Yeah, I think we do. So, for instance, if you want to do things like adding an annotation, then quite quickly you're gonna run into limitations there, because yeah, that is typically defined outside of a method body, and that is not something that you can then do with the API that we've defined here.
Right.
So I'll close my IDE again, because I think we've sufficiently shown what we can do here. And then from our, it's actually still showing. That's weird. I can switch back to the docs. I'll show you window. So if you want to know more about, in particular, the Refaster style templates, then we have a new page added to the documentation on getting started with Refaster template recipes. So that again is on docs.openrewrite.org/authoring recipes/refaster recipes. I'm sharing it in this chat here as well, where you can have see a short video that a colleague of ours has produced, where you can, which takes you through a similar implementation. And we tell you some more about exactly how to implement this, how to add it to your own project if you need to wire up that annotation processor. And then just more of an example of how to do this. And if you think that this is a lot of fun to play with, we also have some recipes that are part of our good first issues on our OpenRewrite recipe board. And from there's some recipes that can be implemented in this map. So if you want to play around with this and have something to show for it at the end of the day, then you can go to this board and find any good first issues that can be implemented with Refaster. And then we'd love to review and merge that in to make that available to others as well. So I've shared the link, and go check that out.
Very cool, Tim. Thanks for demonstrating Refaster recipe support, and I think that speaks to some of our upcoming plans for language expansion, like in the JavaScript TypeScript space. We're looking to get OpenRewrite to support. We're actually working on it right now, getting OpenRewrite to support running code mods, a refactoring tool already widely in use in the JavaScript TypeScript ecosystem. So while I'm not going to promise that we will Borg-like assimilate every other refactoring technology that exists into OpenRewrite to make it stronger, not ruling it out. We're definitely going to practically integrate with existing repositories of refactoring goodness wherever it makes sense to do so. I see a question in the chat of how can I contribute to OpenRewrite. All of our repositories for the core refactoring technology and the recipe modules we run are available here on GitHub under the OpenRewrite organization. The core repository that has the parsers as well as the recipes for that come with Java, YAML, all of that stuff is under OpenRewrite/rewrite. And then for more specific recipes. There are a number of projects covering things like Spring, rewrite Spring, rewrite testing frameworks, rewrite Launch Darkly, which aggregate recipes specific to those technologies. So yeah, we're there on GitHub. Take a look, and if you're looking to contribute.
And I've shared a link to our contributing guidelines as well, which shows that there's a lot of ways to contribute, even outside your IDE. So if you join our Slack and help answer questions, that's already very helpful. We get a lot of questions on Stack Overflow, and it would be helpful if folks help answer those. There's a lot more that you can do, even if you don't yet feel that you can contribute much to the code. So yeah, just feel free to check in and help out any way you can.
I would be happy to see you.
Yeah. Yep.
Cool. So yeah, I thought that I might demonstrate a little bit more on the a few features of the YAML recipes. You can how you can quickly put together a migration.
Yeah, sure. You want to take over the screen share?
Yeah, I will do that.
And I see, indeed, Jeff, in the chat, I see that you've already contributed to Spring Boot Migrator. Thanks for that. Is there any improvements there that you want to pull upstream to us? Then yeah, we'd be happy to take them as well. Because indeed, Spring Boot Migrator uses OpenRewrite, as do other tools as well. So yeah, anything that makes it into OpenRewrite itself can then also be used in other similar tools like that. So would be neat to see.
Let's see. Tim, can you either stop sharing or make my video the one that's playing?
I've at the stage, yes.
There we go. Okay, so Tim had already kind of shown you the recipe builder and for putting together a YAML recipe. And I wanted to demonstrate how you could use this app.moderne.io and its recipe builder to quickly put together a migration recipe for when you have a drop-in replacement from one class to another class using off-the-shelf recipes. And then I was going to demonstrate the recipe preconditions, which we haven't, I don't know if we've covered those recently. So let's say that I wanted to replace the Spring Framework string utilities with the Apache Commons Lang string utilities. I could use the recipe change type to org. I have this example org.springframework.util.stringutils. If I would replace that with org.apache. So, and I go and run this over the set of repositories I've selected. The Moderne platform goes and kicks off OpenRewrite and starts generating diffs and patch files for each of these guys. And if we pop one of these open, we mostly see that imports are being changed from one string utilities class to another, which is a good start. But these projects don't necessarily have the Apache string utils on the class path already. So I'm just going to clear my existing recipe builder. Yep. So we need to combine this recipe with one that does a dependency manipulation. So I'll just cancel this recipe run since we're not going to need the rest of that. So if I click this replay button on the upper right-hand corner here to go back to the recipe details page, instead of running it this time, I can add it to the builder. And we see here that I don't know if Tim, when you showed declarative recipes, it showed this off, but this is what it looks like when you, in the YAML format, fill in parameters that are on the recipe. And so I want to combine this with add dependency. And we've got a couple add dependency recipes. There's one for Maven, one for Gradle, and one that does both. I'm going to use the one that does both so that we can cover the widest possible range. So let's see, that was org.apache.commons, commons length 3. And for all of our dependency manipulation recipes, you can use a symver selector or other version lookup in order to not have to yourself look up the version, but leave it to OpenRewrite and Moderne to go check the artifact repository to find the latest. And for add dependency in particular, we can say we don't want to add this dependency to every single project. We only want to add this to projects where the Spring Framework string utilities are in use, so that we're not adding an unneeded commons lang dependency everywhere. I'll say specify implementation there. And so let's go run just this recipe, and then we can add it and see what the results from that look like. And then we'll add it to the recipe builder and run both together, followed by, so you see that, so Spring plugin got the commons length 3 dependency added to it. I'm getting the UI glitch where the results page refreshes and redoes the authentication. It's a little bit of an annoying one, but hopefully one will get fixed soon. Okay, so yeah, we're seeing some results come in. Oh, and here's demonstrating that similar changes can also be made to Gradle files, which is great. So since we can kind of already see from that recipe run that that's doing part of what we want, we'll cancel the rest of this recipe run, go back to here, add this to the builder, and now we have both of these put together in the builder. And I can try doing a dry run of the combined, Spring string to Apache string recipe. And we should start getting some results here in a minute that have both of those put together.
And I note that we are running this on a Moderne platform against, in this case, all Netflix and Spring repositories. There's a lot more organizations that we can support there as well. I think in total we support some 34,000 open source projects. So if you have any project that you want to help maintain, then app.moderne.io is the place to do it. And you can run any of the 1,400 recipes that we have to help maintain projects in that way.
I was expecting to get some more results than this. Why are we suddenly seeing no results for the sum of these two recipes? That's different than the last time I did this.
I did notice you changed the order of the recipe.
The order shouldn't really matter, since there's broadly ordered Spring Framework string utils. Do I have a precondition in here? Oh, that's right. I had a precondition already in my recipe builder from a previous time when I was demonstrating preconditions to someone. So this complete lack of results from running this recipe is is self-inflicted, and also demonstrates how preconditions work. So I'll navigate back to the recipe run and explain why we're getting no results here. I'm just going to wait to demonstrate preconditions until after we had run this once, but I guess this already shows how it works. So in here, preconditions are a way of narrowing the application of a recipe to fewer files than it would normally run on. And so you can use any non-scanning recipe as a precondition. And in this case, I had the find source files recipe. Use that to limit this to a pattern. So only files under a directory called my subproject would be changed, and none of the repositories we ran this on have a directory with that name, so we got no results whatsoever in that recipe run, which shows that what happens when you use a precondition to overly narrowly scope your recipe. So if I run this again, but without the overly specific precondition, should actually get some code changes being made. Yeah, see, there we go. So now we get the sum of both the dependency manipulation and the code manipulations in one package in order to quickly affect a drop in replacement of one class to another class that provides the same API. And so, this is the sort of thing we do a lot. And say, for example, the Java 8 to 11 or the Java 11 to 17 migrations of swapping out the old Java X APIs for the new Jakarta APIs. Yeah, and so if I were to actually demonstrate adding the precondition, I could do something like is main the source set. Let's see. So you do find files in a source set. Yeah. So here, if I was wanted to, let's try this out. I haven't actually tried this as a precondition before, so let's see how this goes. But this is a search recipe which should mark files that are in a source set under a particular name. And so I'm going to try using this to limit the changes made by our recipe to just the main sources. So with this, test sources should be unaffected. And so if you saw that, but in this drop-down box where you can select add to builder or add as precondition, I selected add as precondition and click that. So now back over on our builder page on the preconditions tab, we see, well, let's get rid of that find files. And we see the Order OpenRewrite Java search has source set present there. And so yeah, let's try running that. And we should still get some results, but none in test sources, which demonstrating the absence of changes under source test Java is harder to do from a diff, but quick spot check, I think we can see that most of these are under main. If I just did a search on here for no hits for test.
And this is also very convenient to have that filter. So if you, for instance, want to try out Java 17, but you can't run it in production just yet, or 21, you can already switch your tests to use features from Java 17 or Java 21, and not yet change main. This, having that filter option is a great way to do that.
Yeah. So I think that demonstrates using the recipe builder, the YAML recipe builder with preconditions. And I believe we have. I know we have documentation on preconditions on here. Let me just find that. Yeah, I think it's in the declarative YAML format. Yeah, we talk about preconditions. These are a feature of YAML recipe. There is no construct called when you're writing a recipe fully in Java rather than YAML, there's a class called preconditions that you can use. And you may have even seen it in the recipe that in the implementation of the refaster template recipe that Tim showed post annotation processing, where there's a method or a class that has a static method or that has a variety of static methods relating to preconditions. And that class is called preconditions, and the method is called preconditions.check. And you'll see that throughout. So you can always use that on an imperative recipe if you want to narrow the scope of your visitor's application. So we got a question, any news on the migrate to Java 21 recipe? Well, I will say we do have a migrate to Java 21 recipe right here, which is composed together with the migrate to Java 17 recipe, which is of course composed of the migrate to Java 11 recipe. So you can see that in addition to, oops, went too far, to all of the things that the migrate to Java 11 and migrate to Java 17 recipes include, that the Migrate to Java 21 recipe does a variety of things in terms of,
Yeah.
Updating properties.
But the sequence collections is one that I'm particularly enthusiastic about. So this one is one I contributed a couple months ago, where, of course, you know that Java 21 added sequenced collections. And that is a fancy way of saying that if you want to get the first or the last element of a list, you can now call a method which is get first or get last, rather than calling get and then element 0. So that is a very simple change. But as we saw before with your faster templates, folks have been working around this for a couple of decades by now, because those methods just were not there. So you have folks who use give me an iterator and then the next element, or give me the first element from a sorted set. But nowadays, really, you want to standardize on just get first or get last. And especially for getting the last element, it was quite awkward where you need to, on a collection, call get and then the element of the collection size -1. And we recognize all of that and convert it for you into just the calling get last. And that change will be applied whenever you upgrade to Java 21, because we think it's so valuable to pick up that you will just start to see it on your code. So that's really neat. It's just one thing you get for free by running the Java 21 migration recipe.
Yeah, I think it's really fun fun and helpful how our migration recipes combine the strictly necessary changes, replacing the deprecated methods or removed methods with their replacements for things to continue compiling, as well as, maybe desirable enhancements or taking advantage of new features like that recipe that Tim added here. And so that when you start using these recipes, it naturally introduces the new features that are available in new versions of Java to your code base. And so people who might not have kept up with the blogs or the information about the new features that are available in new JDK versions will just start to see them in the code base and benefit, by osmosis, even start absorbing knowledge about those new features and best practices. And I see the learning capabilities, the learning or teaching potential of running recipes to disseminate best practices through a code base and ultimately through the minds of the people in the organization as being a great benefit of automating the application of best practices with OpenRewrite recipes. So let's see. Looks like we've gone a little bit over time even. I suppose we'll probably do another one of these again soon. We'll cover some more topics. Any final questions that anyone has, or any last subjects, Tim, that you would like to mention?
So I can say that we plan to do this probably once every month, so that you can have a constant way to catch up on what's new, both in recipes that we want to develop, but also in features on how you can develop those recipes, or what we've seen in the wider community. So be free to check in to that as well. And then apart from that, I think we can wrap it up for today. Do you have anything that you want to share still?
I think that about covers it for today. I think next time we'll obviously get into any questions anyone brings to us. We'll probably also dive into authoring some more complex recipes. So if you've been looking to level up your recipe authoring skills, look forward to that.
Yeah, cheers. I saw a last comment in the questions. Indeed, if you run the Spring Boot 3 best practices recipe, we also upgrade you to Java 21. And we enable virtual threads. So it's just a really nice way to compose those recipes yet again. So, yeah. With that, thank you all for attending, and I hope to see you on the next one.
Thanks so much.
Cheers.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.